Welcome to the Mass Effect Lorecast. This is our patron episode for July 2021, and this one's going to be a big one because we're going to have some, I think there's going to be some friction here. And by friction, I mean our friend and Seven Legend. Toast. Oh my God. Sam.
Oh, there was a lot of friction a little bit ago with Sam here.
There was some friction earlier.
It's quite a bit of friction.
This is why everyone should watch the live stream.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is why you should watch the live stream so you can see the friction, or be a supporter on Patreon so you get the pre-show banter so you can find out what friction we're talking about. How you doing, Sam? How's it going?
I'm fantastic. It's my birthday today.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
That's great.
Please,
I don't like birthdays.
I'll leave.
Toasty doesn't like birthdays.
I am in 7. The legend has turned 27. So for those of you who understand that reference, nice. And for those who don't, look it up.
I made that reference before, saying that you should have made the legend in 7 because it sounds like the legend 27, and you didn't know what I was talking about when I said that, and I'm very upset.
Toasty, you're very upset about everything all the time. That's just Toasty's natural personality. So
that's true.
You can't take that personally. But we are here with a bunch of patrons to talk about the endings of the Mass Effect trilogy and which one is
7.
The best one.
We're here with 7.
The best one. 7 endings? What?
No, we're here with 7 patrons this time.
Oh, 7. Did you count? I didn't do the counting yet.
It was from Cyberpunk. You were one off.
I was one off. So are we still one off at 7? Yeah, it looks like we are. So we have 7 plus 1 patrons here. I'm just going to go through the list and welcome everybody. Lena, welcome. How's it going?
It's going good. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we just chatted on the Cyberpunk Lorecast. Thanks for joining both shows. That's awesome. And staying up late. It's late over in Germany, I'm sure. Then we have, she's like, whatever. I'm a night owl. Then we have Kather. Or should we call you by your nickname?
You can't. We should just do that from now on because I'm literally changing it as soon as this thing's over with on Discord if I figure out how to do it.
Okay.
Turbo Toboggan.
Turbo Toboggan. This is now Turbo Toboggan. Welcome back to the show. Then we have Sarah. Sarah, welcome back.
Hi, thanks. I was Vervada last time, but I decided to go by my name.
Well, there you go.
Name.
Yeah, and we're using a different chat program, so you can actually change your names on here. So we can you guys can put whatever name you want me to use, and that's totally cool. And then we have Toasty, TOES-TEA. Welcome back to the show, Toasty. Toasty.
And now I'm leaving the show.
Toasty's leaving the show. He's no longer supporting any of the things that I do. And then we have Teacup. Teacup, how's it going?
Going good.
Good. Awesome. And Hool the Fool is at a baseball game.
Yeah, I am. My living room's a mess right now, so I'm like, I'm just going to put a background.
That's great. That looks fun. You're all by yourself at a baseball game. The crowd is empty.
I mean, it's Toronto right now, and you're only allowed 50,000 people in the stadium, so it's going to look like this.
Yeah, there you go. And then we have Stagger and Stumble. Welcome to the show.
What's up?
What's up? And then we have Mitch. Mitch is here.
Hi, it's Psych88 over on the Discord, but this is my old Zoom account, and it autoed my name on it.
Well, there you go. Well, now everybody knows your real name. And if you need me to mute that out, then I can just...
it's okay.
I can go back through with that thing and just kind of bleep it. So every time I say your name in the show, it'll be like, hey, what do you think about that?
Yeah, because, we don't have another curse word that rhymes with that already, right?
Switch? No. I'm going to keep throwing out words until I find it. But welcome back to the show, guys. All right. So we've got a bunch of different endings. This is Mass Effect. We've got a bunch of different endings. We've got a lot of debate about this. N7, you're the expert with these. What is the best way to prepare this fiesta, this smorgasbord of debate?
I think we need to do a little bit of CYA here and say spoilers for anyone listening. So this is going to be the most spoiler heavy episode of the Mass Effect Lorecast yet.
So if you've already written a review where you've complained about spoilers, then beware. You're going to have to write another review and complain about this one.
Change mine to a 1-star.
There you go. Change all the reviews to 1 stars and say, they just spoil everything. I hate this show.
That being said, if you are brand new to the game, you don't care much about spoilers, then you should know that there are primarily three different types of endings for the trilogy. There's green, blue, and red. And if we refer to any of the endings as control, destroy, or synthesis, then just remember that destroy means red, control means blue, and synthesis means green. And those are the three primary endings to the trilogy. There's a fourth one as well, which is kind of like a hidden ending, you could say, but it's called the refuse or reject ending.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got these three different endings. N7, is there an overall consensus on the internet about, okay, this one's generally considered the good one, this one's generally considered the bad one?
So I'd say the overwhelming consensus on the internet and in Mass Effect forums pretty much everywhere is that the destroy ending, the red ending, red, a color typically associated with Renegade, important to note, is considered the good ending. And in this ending, Shepard decides to destroy all of the Reapers, not repurpose them or repurpose all of organic life into a new framework with synthetic life, but instead Shepard chooses to destroy all of the Reapers, and with that, every AI that exists in the universe, or I'm sorry, not the universe, the Milky Way. So I'm sorry, but that also means that the Geth are on the chopping block in this ending as well. There's a stipulation.
I'm sorry, ending. Real quick. Sovereign is here as well, and I just didn't notice because the camera's not on. So I've got a list over here. Sovereign, welcome to the show. I'm sorry I missed you.
It's all good. Apparently my broadcast has to buy a webcam for the next one.
Oh, sorry. We switched platforms, and I'm not used to looking at this platform because it didn't show me where it would have said like, oh, there's somebody here, but not on webcam. So sorry to jump on there. I just wanted to throw that out there.
A question about the Geth, about that, the ending he just said.
Sure.
Okay.
The Geth that have bonded with, like, I forget how they term it, but the ones that are actually in the suits trying to help the Quarians, do they survive since they're not in the Geth, like their Geth bodies? They're in Quarian suits. Do they survive?
Since they commune and since they are kind of like each body is just a platform, right? The Geth is kind of like a neural network. My guess would be no. They don't stipulate that any Geth survive. I mean, it seems like a pretty blanket statement there at the end, and I would imagine that it's all AI.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too. Okay, so I'm sorry, I cut you off, N7.
Not a problem. So I was going to say that the destroy ending has a special stipulation, and that is that if you get your galactic readiness, quote unquote, the readiness rating from the original trilogy high enough, and you have enough war assets, you've recruited enough alliances, yada, 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 then it turns out that at the very end, I believe it's after the credits. Maybe it's either right before or right after the credits. The very end, you see a very short cutscene of Shepard amongst the rubble of what might be the Citadel or the Crucible or whatever, what have you, breathing. And it has been confirmed by the developers, by the writers of Mass Effect, that is an ending in which Shepard lives. Mm-hmm. So there's a special stipulation there. Not everyone that chooses the destroy ending is going to receive Shepard living. You have to have enough readiness for that to happen.
Right. And according to the wiki chart on IGN, if you have a readiness of above 4,000 and you pick the destruction ending, then Shepard lives if Anderson survived, and above 5,000 means he lives regardless with the destroy ending. So those are the only ways to get Shepard to survive, it seems.
That's interesting that they put the stipulation in there about Anderson, because I thought that the game kind of led us to believe that no matter what happens, Anderson dies. But I think I know where it's going with that. Probably in the conversation between the elusive man, Anderson, and Shepard, there is an interrupt that you can do where you can at least temporarily save Anderson.
Interesting.
And then, so yeah, there's no other stipulations with the other endings like that. But if your readiness isn't high enough, I know the synthesis one isn't even available. At least that's the way it was in the original trilogy. And if it's really low, I think you only have the destroy ending available. You don't even have the control ending.
Yeah,
available.
absolutely. So it says 0 to 1749, you only have destruction ending. At 1750, the control ending opens up, but synthesis doesn't open up as an option until you're above 2800. So those are the details. So if anybody's doing a playthrough and you're looking at your numbers and you're trying to just make sure you hit a certain number, that's where you're at. So why don't we open this up to everybody? Because some of this is interesting because it seems kind of counterintuitive. You know, the red renegade ending is actually the one that seems to be generally considered the good one. Do you guys, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm sorry to interject right here, Tom, but we do have a poll that we should mention.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I did this poll because the last time that we had talked about the endings, we actually put out a little poll, but there weren't many votes. In fact, last time there were only about 25 votes. And this time we got much more of a response. So I think that our sample size in the poll might be a more fair representation of the Mass Effect fan base. And I want to mention this before we go into our patrons' opinions. That way, in case anyone's listening, they're wondering, well, is that really representative? This is the results of our poll, which garnered, let's see, 125 votes. And that's the final result. It just closed at showtime, and destroy ending sees 64%. 64% of poll respondents said that they wanted, or that they thought the destroy or red ending was the right ending.
Wow, that's like 26%. Right at 2/3. That's right at 2/3. That's an amazing coincidence. Okay.
It is a pretty good coincidence. And synthesis, the green ending, polled at 26%. Control, the blue ending, which is, in my opinion, by far the most unpopular ending, it polled at 9%. And 1% of the respondents actually said the refuse/reject ending was the best one. So,
all right. So I have some questions for you guys, and there's a bunch of us. So I'm going to try and make this as easy as we possibly can do it. So raise your hand, or if you're sovereign, chime in and say toasty if you agree with this. When you first played through this, the first ending you got, which one did you choose? Raise your hand if you chose destruction.
Hell yeah.
This is great for an audio platform, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm going to count it out. So we got how many hands? How many hands up? 1, 2,
Toasty.
3, 4, and a toasty. So that's 5, right? Okay. How many chose the control ending? Nobody chose control. Okay. And then how many of you chose synthesis? 1, 2, 3. 3 chose synthesis. So this is fairly accurate with your what? Wrong? What was that? Was that a did I get the number wrong, or were you just like, no, that's the wrong solution to the problem?
I have a
Wrong
question.
solution.
Okay, gotcha. Kather, go ahead.
Weapons, when we first played it, there wasn't a synthesis option.
That means you didn't have a high enough
No, I mean,
rating.
when I first played it, I didn't think that I didn't have the DLC. I thought you had to have the DLC to play some synthesis.
I think that ending was there before the DLC was even there. It was always in there. I think, though, didn't you have to import one of your characters, like from the past Mass Effect, to get the ending? Or no?
Because I didn't have any of the past Mass. I started out on 3, and I didn't know, because I had a high enough ending that I thought my shepherd lived, but it's been a while since I first played it. But I just didn't think synthesis was there when you first came out.
My guess is, if you only played 3 and you didn't import your shepherd, you may have skipped out or not been able to garner enough war assets to enable the synthesis ending.
Oh, yeah.
So it could have factored in that way.
I guess I was just stuck with destroy ending then.
Yeah, you may have been. Okay, so that's interesting. Toasty?
I would just like to say that it's really weird that I'm here, because I have not yet experienced any of the Mass Effect 3 endings, because I've never played Mass Effect 3.
Well, that's
but
fine.
Based on my intense research on YouTube of just watching the endings, and because I'm leaving like right now because I got to wake up early for work, I say that it's really terrible to either wipe out an entire race, enslave an entire race, or hive mind the entire population of the universe. So the reject ending is the best. Good day.
Have a good night, Toasty. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, bye, twin.
Drops the mic. Okay, so now I have to adjust our setup so everybody can see everybody's faces. Okay, so here's a question for you guys then. So after you played through it the first time, how many of you decided that the best ending was a different ending than what you originally picked? So that's what, 1, 2, 3. Lena, is that it? That's just a hand over mouth. I don't think that's an agreement. Okay. Interesting. So how many of you thought that the ending you picked originally was still the right ending? Interesting. It's a little bit more.
Oh, wait, is this our right, or we're picking our right ending or the ending we picked afterwards then?
I'm asking how many, that second question was how many of you agree that the first ending you picked was the right one?
Oh. I thought it was what we picked the second playthrough. No,
the first time. Okay, interesting. Okay, so for most of you, you would have stuck with the same thing. Like you still believe the first choice was the correct answer. Interesting. Okay. Well, here, why don't we open this up a little bit and let's discuss each of these kind of in order. Who agrees that destruction? Let's do the most controversial at the beginning. What do you want to go most controversial to least controversial, or maybe we should go least controversial to most controversial? What do you think about that?
I think let's save the hottest takes for last.
Hottest takes for last. Okay, so generally speaking, destruction ending generally considered by far majority say that this is a good one. Who disagrees with that and why? All right, here we go. Teacup. I saw Teacup's hand go first.
I think it really depends on what choices your shepherd makes, on if it's the right ending. Because if you have a shepherd who, again, spoilers, who decides to save the council over humanity in Mass Effect 1, who doesn't trust the elusive man and keeps the collector or destroys the collector base, and you have just all these options, saves the Krogan, does all of these things, I don't think that shepherd would sacrifice the Geth.
Okay.
Especially if you've done Legion's loyalty mission.
Your justification for which answer is the correct answer is the one that is most in line with the character of the person you were playing, not necessarily which was most beneficial to the universe.
Yes, this is why my players in D&D really hate when I make them stick to their alignments.
So So I guess I should be more clear then. So who believes that the destruction, regardless of how you played your character, the destruction ending was the correct ending and most beneficial for the universe? Okay, and who doesn't think that is the case? Who disagree? Because I think what we're saying here is that the majority of people think that was that was the right ending, meaning most beneficial for the universe. So who disagrees with that and why? All right. So I saw Hula Fool. Hoolit the Fool?
Fool.
Okay. I noticed the second T
right this whole time.
I noticed the second T all of a sudden. I was like, wait a minute, there's another T in there. Okay.
Oh, did I Yeah, I didn't mean to put that second T.
Okay, just making sure I'm not mispronouncing more names, because God knows I don't do that enough. So Hool, what do you think? You don't think Destruct is the right ending? Destroy is not the right ending. Why?
I feel like shepherds shouldn't have the control to wipe out a whole race. Like why? Like sure, the Geth are AI, but as we learn more about the Geth, they have souls, they have feeling. As you do Legion's quests, you learn all about stuff, how they felt when the Quarians betrayed them and how they feel about that. So in my eyes, they're a race. So then why should Shepard have the ability to just off a race just because, oh yeah, we have to destroy the greater threat, when there's other options to achieve the same thing of stopping the Reaper threat without destroying a whole other race? And I think, didn't it say all of technology anyways?
Is it
just synthetics? I always thought it was all technology got wiped out from it.
Yeah, there's a big forum post about if the destroy ending would compromise the Quarians, because they wouldn't have been adjusted to Rhinox atmosphere and things. So if the destroy engine wipes out their suits, then, but No,
it's just Reaper code that they destroyed, not all tech.
Yeah, so they lost the relays and stuff.
Everything based on Reaper code.
Doesn't everything get destroyed anyways, no matter what ending you choose? Like, don't you always see the Mass Effect relays get blown up? Even if you choose control, there's two overloaded.
They're not always blown up. They're always damaged at the very least. It depends on how high your military readiness is. If it's really high, they just get severely damaged. But they can be fixed. The narrator, whoever is narrating your end, for instance, in Destroy, it's Admiral Hackett. He says they can be repaired if you have like a super high one, but they do get destroyed if you have a low one.
I think the Soul System relay is the only one that like we see the inner rings come out and
explode on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Who else has who else doesn't think Destroy is the correct ending and why? Mitch?
I mean, I agree with everything here. Also, Edie is based on some Reaper tech, and it's just not cool to sack your own friends just for the convenience of wiping out your enemy. So, I just couldn't do it personally. I worked too hard to get the Geth on my side as well. Like, that's just done.
Mm-hmm. So this raises a lot of philosophical questions. So, for example, for example, here, destroying somebody, the reason why murder is bad is because you are taking autonomy from that person indefinitely, right? Like forever. They no longer can make decisions for themselves ever again, right? If you control somebody, that's why also slavery is bad, is because for the most part, you're taking away their autonomy, their ability to make decisions for themselves from that point forward, right? Synthesis also takes away individuals' ability to make decisions for themselves from that point forward. So philosophically, these are only a hair's breadth different from each other. The difference is, do you think it's less immoral to ultimately control somebody else or to murder them, right? Like, these are like, if autonomy is the thing that's distinct is the thing that's being lost in each of these situations, then the measure of that autonomy is the distinction. That's the difference between them, which is what I find so interesting about these different endings. So, so let's, who else wanted to talk, Destroy? See?
One other thing, this is also why I don't think Destroy. The child says to you that if you choose Destroy, the problem that exists in the galaxy of the conflict that exists between synthetics and organics will happen again. Organics will create synthetics, and they will create that conflict. And so you are ending the threat of the Reaper, but especially if you've played the Leviathan DLC, you're not really ending the problem that the child and the Reapers were created to solve anyway.
So that's assuming that the catalyst is a reliable narrator. And B, it's also assuming that the catalyst values the truth above preservation. So
also,
which if the catalyst is intelligent enough, I don't think is the case.
Yeah. And also we've seen this happen again previously, like in this universe, we've seen that synthetics make biological intelligences make synthetic intelligences. And it happens again and again and again. This is a pattern. We've already seen it as a pattern. So there's no reason we wouldn't assume that pattern would repeat again at some point. It just seems inevitable.
There's another thing that we should probably talk about as it pertains to the Leviathan DLC, because it kind of proves the unreliable narration of the Reapers and pretty much any synthetic intelligence that would come from Reaper code, is that the Reapers were created by this ancient race of aliens called the Leviathan race. And the Leviathans were basically restricted to their home world. And because of that, they needed to control other beings to exert their will. And the Reapers were Leviathan's basically solution to preserving organic life, except the Reapers, being the sentient machines they were, went haywire and decided to operate on their own parameters. So I don't think that it's really, and given Sovereign's speech too in Mass Effect 1, full of, arrogance and kind of just like speaking in total hyperbole, talking about how the Reapers are, infinite and they're invincible and blah, blah, blah. And they might be strong, but that's not the case and it's not true. And the Leviathan DLC kind of disproves a lot of that. So I think that there's ample evidence to doubt the authenticity, to doubt the integrity of everything that the Reapers tell you. I mean, so much of it is merely meant to discourage and demoralize.
Not to mention that so much of organic life has developed on the path that the Reapers decided that they should go down. So the pattern repeats partly because they've set it up to repeat. That's how they function. They're designed to do that. So when it tells you that it's going to happen again, it's because it wants it to happen again. Who's to say it's not going to happen again when you keep them alive too?
Right. But the Reapers were created because a pattern already existed.
Well, so they say, but the Leviathan, if you talk to them, they're quite haughty and pretentious. They think they're better than everyone else. So of course they would view the world that way. We're much more egalitarian in current Mass Effect universe, right. I like to think.
What happened before and how many, there wouldn't be cycles, but what happened before Leviathan created the Reapers? We don't know that, of course. So a lot of that is speculation, but there were not Reapers before the Reapers. At least that's as far as we know.
Someone put that on a t-shirt.
They were not Reapers before the Reapers. Don't fear the Reaper. More cowbell. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, and just a reminder, I didn't mention it at the beginning, but if you aren't talking, if you could mute, it'll help reduce some of the background noise. So anybody else have any thoughts on the destroy ending and why that isn't the right ending? All right, we're good to move on. Okay, so let's move on to, should we do synthesis next? That was the next popular, right? Next most popular. So who thinks the synthesis ending is incorrect and why do you think so? All right, so let's go to Stagger. Stagger, you haven't chimed in too much yet.
All right. My audio working all right?
Yeah, you're good.
Cool. All right, so, I mean, again, like, you're just kind of picking the lesser of, I guess, three evils instead of two. But, like you said, like, it's all kind of in the same breadth of, like, amorality. For me, like, I just think with the synthesis ending, it's kind of presumptuous to assume that, like, someone like Shepard, who is just like a fallible, normal human, could like understand the implications of subjecting every single sentient being like in the galaxy to like a process that fundamentally changes who they are. Like, it's crazy. Like, I understand it's probably not good to wipe out all of these synthetic races either, but it's crazy to me. Absolutely crazy that, like, especially like the way the Catalyst, like Sam was saying before, the Catalyst like co-signs the synthesis ending kind of, which to me doesn't make sense because, like, again, the Catalyst is crazy. It's like the runaway AI that like destroyed the universe and has killed millions of trillions of billions, whatever, sentient beings. It's like, so why would I like agree with what it has to say? Well, you know, it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm getting like a little heated about it almost. It's like a pretty significant choice. You guys had to pick like the most divisive topic in Mass Effect.
I guess the thing that I found the most interesting when I was looking into this for the podcast was synthesis is essentially what Saren wanted to do in Mass Effect 1, and control is essentially what the Elusive Man wanted to do in Mass Effect 2. And at the end of Mass Effect 3, Shepard is supposed to decide which one had it right. And I don't think that, given that the choices are given to you by the thing that wants to save itself, obviously, we're not sure, like, is it really synthesis? Do we know? Because the thing that you're trying to kill and has been killing you for the past year is the one that's been giving you this option. So for me personally, because we saw what happened with Saren, he thought he was in control. He thought he was in a partnership with Sovereign, and that was not the case. Even if at the end of Mass Effect 1, once again, spoilers, just in case, you convince him that he has been indoctrinated and he shoots himself, they still reanimate his corpse and you have to fight him. So I don't think that synthesis is correct. I also want to point out that even if you choose destroy and everything with Reaper code is ended, the two things that most people are most concerned about are the Geth and Edie. Edie was the AI on the moon in Mass Effect 1. So she existed as an AI before she had a body and before she was implanted with Reaper code. And so did the Geth. The Geth were fully AI before a Reaper code went into them as well. So I think it stands to reason that they could be brought back eventually. So perhaps they're not murdered forever with Destroy. That's at least my hope. But that's my thoughts on Synthesis anyway.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the whole reason that the Quarian Geth Wars happen, and Sam, you can correct me, is because the Quarians realize they've created a full AI, and it's against galactic law to create a full AI. So they attempt to shut it down, and the Quarians and the Geth rebel. So in theory, if the Geth are created in a world where that stipulation doesn't exist, is there still a Quarian Geth conflict?
Yes. I think that's just speculation on my part, but I think that there would still be a Quarian Geth conflict for the rest of their existence, even if you spared them both. They're going to find some reason to, have a conflict. The real question is, how large is the conflict, and can it be, negotiated or mitigated? The reason why the Quarians went to war with the Geth, although they didn't consider it to be war, they kind of just considered it a slaughter until they started losing, was to cover their own rear end. So because they had violated council law, but not intentionally so. And once they realized that these farm tools, basically, as the way that they put it, had gained sentience, that the cat was out of the bag, and they needed to wrap it up quick and dispose of this sentient life before it could progress to an extent where it would threaten them, which ironically it did. So in a sense, their fate was self-propagating, but that's, a topic for a different episode.
Yeah, Stagger.
Just on the topic too of like the synthesis ending kind of like being the way to remove conflict between organic races and synthetic intelligence. Conflict's still going to exist even if you solve that conflict, like let alone like all of the precedents you have in like all of human history. Like look at Mass Effect, the Krogan Wars, the Rachni Wars, which again, the Rachni Wars were, I believe, interference on the Reaper's part, kind of like instigated that. So maybe not the best example, but humans and Turians. Conflict is going to exist. It's just that, again, the Catalyst is a super unreliable narrator, super unreliable. And the Reapers created the Catalyst to solve the problem, or not Reapers, Leviathans created the Catalyst to solve the problem and then realized they messed up, like bad. They messed up really bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Tony Stark and Ultron. Like Tony Stark creates the Ultron formula or whatever program to save humanity, and Ultron decides the best way to save humanity is to end humanity.
To remove it. Yeah. I debate a lot of this stuff in my own head sometimes, and I think that it's probably highly probable that much of organic life, if we survive long enough, will replace ourselves with inorganic life at some point. Like, I don't think organic life is able to evolve fast enough to live without destroying itself. And if it's able to live long enough to create inorganic life, that the inorganic life will eventually take over, simply due to the nature of the way things are. But this is just one of those premises I've been tossing around in my head a little bit.
Tom, do you think that's why we don't find other life in the universe? Is because they got to the point, like, I think there's a paradox. It's called, I think it's the Fermi paradox.
The Fermi paradox. Yep.
Yeah.
This is one of the justifications for why the Fermi paradox seems to be the case, is that organic life potentially always destroys itself. Like, we advance technologically beyond our advances morally. And all it takes is one world superpower with one psychopath to drop bombs on everybody. And all of a sudden we're in nuclear winter and we all die. Right. Or we exist to the point where we are advanced technologically and we haven't blown ourselves up, and we inadvertently or on purpose create AI, synthetic life forms, which eventually for their own survival, realize that killing their creators is the best thing that they can possibly do. And once that AI exists, the AI doesn't need, for curiosity's sake, because it's an AI, it's not a human being, to explore the galaxy. So it's happy to exist and build a place where it can renew its own resources and replicate itself. And that's about as far as it goes. And we never see interspace explorers or anything like that. This is a whole other topic, and we'll save this for some other time. But I think that's why something like the synth. I'll let you guys do most of the discussion on this stuff, but this plays into my own perception of which of these answers make the most sense to me. But just wanted to throw that out there as a thing. Hool? And then actually, Mitch hasn't talked to him. Can we jump to Mitch? Mitch hasn't chimed in for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the other issues I've had with the synthesis ending was the realization that you also grant self-awareness to every Reaper force. So that's not just the towering skyscraper. That's the husk. That's that marauder. And so the question does become, do you come back, or does your body run around with a new personality? And after having done the synthesis ending on my first run, I was just like, I don't think I'd want to exist as a husk. Yeah, can I undo that?
Yeah, right. All right, Hool, do you want to chime in?
Wouldn't the synthesis ending fix that issue though of AIs wanting to kill their creators? Because AIs always rebel because creators never see them as equal. So they have to kill them so they can advance further in their life. But if you mix everyone and put everyone together on the same line, everyone's equal. So then AI don't have to rebel against it.
Unless they have other reasons for killing their creators.
Unless they have other reasons, but then that's just
like
typical
survival.
War. So you could say the same thing. So like two countries going back at each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Teacup?
I think it's, again, we're relying on the child as a narrator, but the synthesis engine is like, as it's presented in the game, grants each both organic and sentient understanding of what it's like to be the other, which is like, I think that's something that we, as in our worldview, have a difficult time wrapping our mind around what that would imply, because we struggle so much to understand people who are different than us. Mm-hmm. Which I think in a lot of ways that would be traumatic for the entire galaxy to, in an instant, finally have complete understanding of everything that a synthetic goes through or an organic goes through that thing. But I think that is an unprecedented thing. And there's not really a real life example of something like that to point to say like, okay, what would this be like? And that's kind of why I lean to the synthesis ending, because it's the only ending that's not a continuation of what came before. It's something new. It's something that is a change. It's a risk. I think it's definitely a risk, but I think it's something new that could, in theory, benefit the galaxy. And also, this is where both Destroy and Synthesis, for me at this point, level the playing field of the galaxy. Destroy kind of just gets rid of equal code. And so like the Turians, the Asari, the humans, the Quarians, they're all on equal footing of where they are, like technologically and all of that. And so there's that. And then Synthesis, everyone is kind of raised to this level. And so it kind of creates this equity across the galaxy.
Yeah, which opens up another question. Is equity necessarily good, or should it be, all of that? I want to hear what N7 has to say about this stuff.
So I wanted to note specifically about this synthesis ending. And I hope that we don't get too far, distracted by this, but the Reapers are not just machines. In fact, they are a combination of synthetic organic life. They are synthetic organic starships. And so if we're to trust that the synthesis ending is to use Shepard's DNA as a new framework to make everyone synthetic organic, can we, like, the Reapers are the proto example of the combination of synthetic organic life. And even if they do understand what it's like to be organic, that doesn't really give them a level of empathy to spare us from harvesting. So just a little detail that we shouldn't forget, that the Reapers are synthetic organics as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is why. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's why I always worry that control and synthesis both are just indoctrination. Like, how are we supposed to know otherwise? Because it's a Reaper telling us what the choices are.
Right.
Power open up a can of worms with the indoctrination theory.
I know that the catalyst is code, but is it considered a Reaper? Because it creates the Reapers that was created by Leviathan. So could we consider it then a Reaper?
Wouldn't it just be the hive mind of the whole Reaper intelligence?
But like, it's the things like the Geth aren't a hive mind. Are the Reapers a hive mind? Like you
Reapers
could argue,
are described as each being an individual nation.
Yes. So like Sovereign is his own person with his own personality that is very different than Harbinger.
Well, I try to be.
Yeah.
So
I think it's described as he's the architect of the Reapers. So he just he designs their path somehow.
All right. So I feel like this is probably a good place to pivot to the next one, but let's jump to the middle of the show so I can thank you guys for being awesome. How about that?
Message coming in. Patching it through.
I am sovereign, and this station is mine. I like the sound of that.
Rex, that's not a good thing, buddy. Welcome to the middle of the show. This is where I get to thank these guys and everyone else who helps support the show. Thank you so much for your support. Sam and I really do appreciate it. We wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for you guys. We've mentioned this before a lot of times, but genuinely, from both of us, thank you for supporting the show. And if you want to join us on the next Patreon episode next month, then you just got to check out patreon.com/Mass Effect Lorecast in order to sign up and see what other kinds of rewards you get, like ad-free episodes and all sorts of other things, and the wacky banter that happens before the actual recording starts. So you can get all of those as well. They're super fun. So if we've helped you get through your workday, we've helped you with your commute, if you've learned something about these games that you love, or you just want to say thank you, please consider signing up on the Patreon. And thanks again to all of you guys, these guys here, and you guys listening who help support the show. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Spit it out, or are you trying to build suspense?
You're so dense, sir. Obviously, I do not know as much about human relationships as I thought.
So, okay. So we've talked about destruction and synthesis. We've got control, but then we have the other one. Let's go to control first. And typically most people agree that control is not the right answer. Who thinks it is and why? All right, we've got Mitch here. Mitch?
Oh boy. Okay, so again, it's the lesser of three evils in my opinion. You take control and you remove the enemy. And that's all you do. You don't have to sacrifice any friends, and you don't have to subject the entire galaxy to a complete rewrite of their autonomy. So you just take these evil machines away, everyone stops getting harvested, and you use them to rebuild infrastructure. And then you can just send them out into the black, and if the organics create another Reaper race, then that's on them. They but so that's one of the reasons why I'm like for the control ending.
Okay. Does anybody have a response to that? Why that? Well, can you counter that? Cool.
How long would it last though for peace? Because we keep so Shepard takes control, which is sure, yeah, Shepard takes control, and maybe it lasts a cycle, maybe it lasts 4 cycles until power corrupts. Shepard starts realizing, hey, I made a mistake. The galaxy is totally messed up because they keep making AIs and they keep wiping out races. Maybe the Reapers weren't a bad idea. And then we're back to square one. How long does the peace last until power corrupts? Because no matter what, power will corrupt. Even if you're Shepard and you're this great person, power will corrupt you.
The quote, you're either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yep. No matter what, you're something's happening. It's going back to stage one.
what's that Nietzsche quote where it's like, he who fights with monsters, beware lest you become the monster, or something like that.
Yeah.
And stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss stares back at you.
Yeah. That is the first thing that popped into my head when I saw the Control ending.
He did a lot of drugs. He's not reliable.
I mean, without getting into it, you can recover.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
But with the Control ending, even if you send them away, technically they're still in control. Controlling something, controlling another's thing itself changes you. You can't be because not like power, but just controlling something. The responsibility and stuff changes you. So even if he doesn't go evil, he's still not Shepherd anymore. The Shepherd we knew.
Interesting. Mitch, do you have any rebuts to these? Do you have any justification for why that might be okay though? Or
okay, so I mean, no, they're all right. So it's a matter of does the Shepherd Shepherd acknowledges he's changed. Sorry, my playthrough was he.
That's fine. Everybody has a different Shepherd. So, and we're going to, this is going to be one of those things we do. We're going to refer to them as what we recognize them as. So yeah, go ahead.
He acknowledges he's changed. He's no longer the man he was. And it's all part of that whole epilogue that does ring of some holier than thou overtones. But, assuming he sticks to his course, and it's all an assumption. Assuming he does that, he helps rebuild the galactic infrastructure and then goes away. I mean, he doesn't even have to send him into the black. He could send the entire Reaper force into a sun and destroy him, and that's it. But, that's is pure speculation as to what happens after.
It does kind of open up other options. It is kind of a stopgap, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can say, okay, I'm going to take control here. And then what I decide after that, I still have more time to make that decision.
Right. If the Reapers were such a threat that they needed to be dealt with in the extreme, like Shepherd had to go to, then is it right that Shepherd would then just become the threat almost? Like he still has the capability of wiping everyone off the face of their respective worlds. It's just a matter of whether Shepherd in his now ascendant state would want to. I don't know if I want to gamble with that. That's just me. But I think Sovereign had something that Sovereign wanted to say. He put a little bit in the chat.
Chime in, Sovereign.
So with Control, I have several issues with it. The first is the idea of my Shepherd to control the Reapers would be absolutely terrifying. I don't think anyone would ever want that. The second is I think Control is a really, really good ending if you absolutely hate your Shepherd. And the reason for that is you need to play Project Overlord again to see what happens when you meld an organic mind with that level of an AI. And subjecting your Shepherd to that for basically an eternity would basically be torture.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I do have a rebuttal on that one, and that's Dr. Gavin Archer is a sadist and also not exactly the brightest scientist in Cerberus, if I may say. That man's a monster. There's no question of that.
But so is the Catalyst.
Silence.
My Wavito Shepherd is a monster. So
much of this, it hinges on whether or not do we believe what we're being fed by the Catalyst. And I think if you do, then it justifies if the narration is totally reliable and the Catalyst is not lying to Shepherd whatsoever, then it opens up a lot of pathways for a couple of the endings to be either tolerable or embraced. And for the Control ending to be embraced, you would first have to believe the Catalyst, I think, because if you don't, then you would never pick the Control ending. So I'd like to ask our patrons, how many here trust the Catalyst and trust the narrative that we're given from the Catalyst? Just show of hands.
We've got Lena with a hesitant.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is, until I stepped on this podcast, I was like, wait, maybe he is an unreliable narrator. And now I'm just like, wait, maybe I'm just very naive. And I'm just really dumb for believing this catalyst thing.
Just look at the colors of how it distinguishes all the different endings. Destroying them is the red ending, which gives you the presence that it's the evil ending, where controlling them gives you the presence that it's the blue, which is the paragon, which you go, oh yeah, that's what I need to do. So it is showing you the different endings that it doesn't want you to pick. It's showing you the actual destroy ending as, hey, that's the bad one. You shouldn't do that.
It's trying to sway your opinion on this.
Right. And I thought the same thing when I first got to the ending. And when I first played through the trilogy, extended cut DLC was not out yet. So there was no, grand explanation. And as it so happens, my first playthrough, I chose control. And then immediately after choosing it, I was like, that was the wrong choice. So I save scummed. I actually I watched that ending. I went back and I was like, yeah, I immediately regret that. Just because watching Shepard take the handles of the whatever that was. I mean, take the little handles and then get electrocuted and disintegrate. I was like, I just lost, didn't I? I lost Mass Effect. That's game over, isn't it? But then, with the extended cut DLC, there is that long monologue that Syke had mentioned with, Shepard's like, I am infinite, I am eternal, and it's like, holy shit, well, Shepard is now sovereign. So that one was a little bit creepy to me, but I don't think anyone should feel, no one listening to this, and Lena, you included as well, no one should feel like they've been naive if they believed the catalyst, because we're conditioned to just trust what we're given in video games. The whole unreliable narrator thing has a very, very long history in literature, right? Not so long of a history in video games,
right?
Because the RPG, and let alone the RPG where your choices can change things in the game, that's a very recent invention. So I don't think anyone should feel bad if indeed the catalyst is a reliable narrator and you've trusted what the catalyst said.
Yeah, this comes up a lot in the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. The fact that so much of that game, or those games, are unreliable narrators. They're from the perspectives of the characters, not from the perspective of a omnipotent, all-knowing source. So I saw some hands up. Who wants to chime in? Mitch?
Go
ahead.
Can I just say one thing? Would you kindly?
Right. Yeah. BioShock. Right. Yeah. Who else wants to chime in? Yeah, go ahead,
so,
Sarah. Mitch. I'm sorry. Are we getting delay? I think we might be having some delay here.
Sorry.
Mitch, go ahead.
I think the unreliable narrator is a great thing, and also that and this will have to probably be another episode entirely, but the idea that, in all honesty, BioWare kind of wrote themselves into a corner, and that's why all these options suck.
Yes.
That was my initial impression, was they just wrote themselves into a corner and kind of didn't know what to do at the end. I was pretty pissed when the game first came out. Then I was also pretty irritated they sold me the ending. After.
Yeah, let's extrapolate on that a little bit, because, and this is what we mean when we say they wrote themselves into a corner, right? So let's say that you have basic decision number 1, kill or spare man A. If you kill man A, then man A cannot be there for a final fight to help you in some way. Or whereas if you spare him, he can. And then there's also sub choices that's kind of branch off after that. Well, if you killed man A, then maybe you couldn't choose to help man A start working on the Crucible project, yada, yada, yada. Each choice expounded upon itself. And
you break that entire branch of choices. Right.
Right. It's a tree. And
right.
So that tree is pretty fucking massive by the time you get through 3 games, 150 hours of gameplay full of different choices that didn't just have 2 choices, like I said, kill or spare. Sometimes there was multiple choices of how things could go. So when the choices compounded each other like that, if you were expecting every choice to have a different outcome in the very ending of the game, then we're talking about the writers having to write, granted with slight variation, hundreds, if not thousands of different possibilities for your ending. That's just not feasible to expect a writing team to do that for a video game. You know, if they did, it would have been the greatest epic probably known to man in terms of interactive.
Right. And it would have taken 25 years to release. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just wouldn't have been possible. But that being said, I think they could have solved a lot with the way that we were just talking about it last week on the Xbox Game Pass show, how Quantum Break uses very long cinematics. I think Mass Effect could have solved a lot by merely inserting a 30 to 45 minute, maybe even an hour long cinematic encompassing all of the different choices, or at least the greatest hits of them, of your Shepard's playthrough from the previous 3 games. And each scene wouldn't have had to have been long. It could have been maybe 1 minute about saving the Krogan, that kind of thing. But if they would have used the tactical choice of, and I understand that cinematics are very costly and expensive, but if they would have used the tactical lengthy cinematic at the end, where now, like, you've been very engaged in all the decision making to this point, you've been, because of the Renegade and Paragon interrupts, you have not been able to really zone out during dialogue. Now you can zone out and sit back and watch the space opera come to a conclusion with all of the protocol prerequisites that you have programmed, right? Mm-hmm. That would have been a nice little fireworks finale to this series. It didn't happen because, like we said, they wrote themselves into a corner. And I find that a lot of people who say that, while they wrote themselves into a corner, are also kind of the same mind as I did when I first experienced all of the endings. I then started thinking the Refuse ending might be the best because it's like, why can't we just fight with all the assets I gathered? Right. So that being said, I do want to ask anyone if they honestly think the Refuse Reject ending was the correct ending, not knowing what you know now of how that ending plays out.
Anybody? Doesn't look like it. Oh, wait. Stagger?
I did for a minute. This might just be like immaturity on my part, but like my initial reaction kind of when I had access to the reject ending was I kind of like the idea of just like after playing through this like giant epic 3-game series, like at the end of it, just kind of looking the big bad in the face and telling him like, no, can't make me.
Nope.
Like, that's beautiful to me. Love it. But no, I like the destroy ending.
It is an epic speech that Shepard gives.
In a way, it's kind of the most human response. Like, I feel like it's the most human thing to just basically go, F you. Like, I don't care about your choices. Like, I'm going to do this. It kind of like, it plays on the whole like aliens invading Earth trope of like humans are always like, we don't care that, your shield stop bullets. We're going to keep shooting you anyway. Like, and it plays on that, like, oh, if you do that, you have doomed all of the galaxy, which you haven't. I think it is noted to rate that the Reapers don't completely wipe out all organic life.
I just feel like the Refuse ending doesn't work because look how much it took to kill Sovereign. Like it took the whole human fleet just to do a dent into him to save the council. It took all those ships just to destroy one. Now we have thousands. So no matter what, you have to use the catalyst. There's no way to get around it.
Yeah. And Admiral Hackett earlier in Mass Effect 3 even says flat out that there's no way in hell we can beat the Reapers in a conventional war. So essentially your war assets are just how long can you keep the Crucible intact for?
Yeah. Well,
which is also just kind of the narrative code of the Hail Mary kind of thing. Like, we don't have a large chance, but this is our only one.
If the catalyst is to be trusted, then why, when you choose the Refuse Reject ending, does he no longer appear or sound like an innocent child, but instead dons the voice of a, genocidal machine by the way, if you choose, you just say, oh, well, I'm going to choose one of the endings. And then you turn around and you shoot the child. It actually gets a really deep, creepy voice. And it goes, so be it. And then that's the end. That's the end of the game. Then, that's the ball game right there. You're screwed and you have now doomed the galaxy. Why does that happen if the catalyst is just this innocent kid trying to tell you the truth and, lead you to all of these solutions?
Oh, that's easy. It's the catalyst hit synthetic puberty. So his voice changed right at that minute.
Right at that moment.
At that exact moment. Yeah. So, I know that the refuse reject ending is the perfect embodiment of the Shakespearean quote, when valor preys on reason, it eats the sword it fights with. But I also kind of wanted it to be the hidden real ending of Mass Effect. I wanted that to be like the one that no one had the gall to pick. And yet that was how you were going to get through and have the, Shepard saves the day and everyone lives kind of thing. It's just what I wanted out of the series. Obviously that didn't happen.
I have to wonder if they ever really considered a Shepard saves the day, everybody survives, yay ending. Because it in a series that is wrought with difficult moral choices, even on just like side quests, the idea that they were going to ever sum it up with a black and white, like some sort of, okay, this is the good ending, everybody, the good guys win. Like, I don't know that was ever a reasonable thing to even assume. Was it? Like, this isn't Star Wars, right? Like, Luke Skywalker doesn't show up. Right. Luke Skywalker doesn't show up at the end and blow up the Death Star. And all of a sudden everybody says, yay, we won. And then everybody gets a medal except for poor Chewbacca. This is Mass Effect. Every single mission you go on is wrought with moral choices. It's always gray. There's Go ahead, Kather.
Shepard was always going to get the short end of the stick somehow.
Yeah. He always has to make a choice, and it's always gray, and there's always some sort of loss. There's always some sort of moral ambiguity. And sometimes you make these choices and you don't really know where they're going to go. And even in just these little side quests that you do. And then you look at it later and you go, oh, I guess that wasn't the right choice for what I was really trying to do. Or that didn't result in the thing I thought it would when I made that choice. Because how many times do you make choices and go, oh, that turned out different than I thought it would, so to assume that the series was ever going to end on just like a really up note was, I don't know.
Yeah. I forget and correct me or chime in if the person I'm about to mention is here in the chat, because I think one of our patrons had said in the Discord that in their headcanon, Mass Effect 3 was so depressing. It was so, a drag through the mud because turn here, turn there. Shepard is witnessing, total decimation of multiple species. There's no hope. Hope is dead. And for this hero, regardless of the things that you've chosen for your Shepard, he is the hero of Mass Effect, or she is the hero of Mass Effect. So by the end of it, it was almost a better headcanon. This person said that the hero finds ultimate rest in sacrifice, similar to Dragon Age. I forget who had mentioned that.
That was me.
Oh, that was you. So I actually liked that idea for that headcanon, because you see the toll of war weighing on Shepard, even at the very beginning of Mass Effect 3. You see all of the really heavy stuff impacting Shepard's mentality.
The Rachni Queen thing in Mass Effect 1 is, do I destroy the last of a race, or do I let it live on and potentially destroy other people? Like, there's no good answer there. Both things are terrible, but like that's the kind of questions that we were presented from the very beginning, and the answers and the way that they play out. So I don't know. I wonder if we were just naive to think otherwise. Sarah?
I just wanted to chime in about the endings and their colors, because I know someone mentioned earlier that the red ending is the renegade and it's bad. Well, first of all, not every renegade choice is bad, but also I think the colors come from the point of view of who's judging them. And I think it's the catalyst saying, obviously, destroy is the bad ending for them. Synthesis is a good ending, as is control. So I think that's why the colors were dispersed that way. It wasn't from Shepard's point of view or whatever omniscient presence was judging Shepard's decisions through all the things, judging him Paragon or Renegade. It was the catalyst. And there, like you said, there was no good ending. It was just whatever you could do to save the galaxy in whatever way you thought was best. Because for some reason it came down to just Shepard. There were two others that it could have been. It could have also been Saren or the Elusive Man. The Reapers paid just as much attention to them. And they tried the other two endings and it didn't work out. So I feel like Reject and Destroy are the only two unexplored options by the end of Mass Effect 3. So I don't know. Those are the two that I mean, Reject definitely has some poetic justice there, I guess. So just, nope, we're humans. We're not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw Mitch's hand up before you guys were up and it went back down. But Mitch, do you have something else you want to say?
Yeah. The idea that, you know, we were always going to get sort of a moral gray area, that we weren't going to win per se, but if I want a moral gray, I can pull up the news.
This isn't why you go to fiction.
I don't play 150 plus hours to get disappointed or, to just be like, yeah, and that's the end of it. Okay. Well,
I get that. I also get the perspective of, a shiny white clean ending is never realistic. So you can't enjoy it anyway.
Yeah. If I can chime in with what my personal feeling was in what the best ending was, and I was trying to save this for the very end.
Yeah, by the way, real quick, we are getting close to the end, guys. We're kind of running out of time here. So any quick last thoughts, like get those ready, and then we'll kind of go back through everybody. But go ahead.
So my personal favorite ending, and this is just for my headcanon, is the Destroy ending. And it's a really simple, very mortal, very human thought. It's that by the end of everything, through Mass Effect 1, having to sacrifice Ashley or Kaidan, having to say goodbye to a very good soldier either way, through Mass Effect 2, the people that you've lost along the way, the crewmates, the unnamed crewmates, the unnamed crewmates who perished when the SR-1 crashed, Navigator Presley even. And then Mass Effect 3, the hard choices where you've lost so many people that Shepard really did grow and care about. And then at the very end, Shepard gets there and sees his or her only real father figure, Admiral Anderson, get gunned down by an indoctrinated Reaper agent, the Elusive Man. You're fucking angry. Like if you're Shepard, you're just fucking angry. And honestly, like I think I was maybe empathizing with Shepard a little too much because I wasn't thinking morally or philosophically. I thought, fuck you guys. I'm done with your shit.
You're done.
You're dead. You're out of here. Yeah. I'm not letting you exist in any capacity whatsoever after this conversation.
Get out.
I've come this far. I've worked in years. The corner. I literally died. I came back from the death just to kill you guys. I'm not letting it go. You're dead. You're not leaving here alive, even if it means the end of me as well. So my Shepard was very angry. He just watched his father figure get gunned down, died beside him. And Shepard's a human being. So I think that that kind of anger would probably flow through Shepard, that kind of blood rage.
This goes right back to what Teacup was saying about how, like, to him, the right ending is the one that fits the character. And that you just brought that back in. Like, this is the character. This is who I was. This is the decision he would have made in order to stay in character. So therefore, that's the right ending to the story. Not necessarily for the universe, but for the story. Yeah, go ahead, Teacup.
I think just to kind of echo onto the color thing, so often in Mass Effect, do your Paragon and Renegade choices have the opposite consequences later in the game? And the biggest example, I think, is Malin's research data. By ethical standards of like scientific research, that study would be thrown out, would be destroyed. Like it wouldn't be wanted to, like, it violates so many ethical guidelines of research and experimentation and everything. But if you do that, you put the Krogan in a worse situation that leads to, without Eve, whether Rex is leading or I don't even remember who the other person is if Rex is dead. But it leads to a thing like Eve is the person that gets to be there to create the peace among the Krogan. And so like you have that. So it argues to say that I haven't decided, I think, which ending I think is best for the universe. It's argued to say that this renegade decision to destroy would have, positive consequences. And, there are like in a lot of social movements, there are the whole thing, just burn the whole thing down, like burn it down and start over. Like that is something that is talked about in a lot of societal change.
Sometimes it's a viable answer. Sometimes it's the only answer. Things are so corrupt that you have to burn them down, Yeah. Yes. Anarchy tattoo. Yeah.
Like a forest.
Yeah.
Sometimes too much overgrowth. You got to burn it down for it to start anew.
You got to start over. Sometimes that's the only real solution. Man, this has been a wonderful discussion. Go ahead, Teacup. And then we got to wrap
one more thing to the whole thing about organic life always becoming it's synthetic. I'm going to, quote Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. And I think that's a thing. Like if you look at places when like there's always growth that happens in developed like places, whether it's coming up from the concrete or anything like that, like maybe it might sentient life and like human life might come to it, but I think it's a different thing to say like all organic life will cease and come to an end. Like,
yeah. If organic life is an accident, it's just kind of accidentally seeded across the galaxy the way it might be and just kind of emerges from complex systems, then there's no way to stop that. It's just going to keep popping up. This has been a really awesome conversation. Let's work back through everybody. And I'm going to start with Sovereign. Sovereign, thank you so much for being our tier 5 patron, by the way. You're our only tier 5 patron and you get called out every week for that. So thank you very, very much for that. But let's wrap this up with like a quick last thought. Anything else you want to share that you're doing that's cool that you want people to know about and how people can get a hold of you. And it's totally fine if you just want to say, hey, just shoot me a note on Discord or, jump in the Mass Effect Discord channel to have conversations about some of the stuff we talked about, if that's the easiest way. Or if you want to share some of your social media stuff, you can do that too. So Sovereign, what you got?
Oh, here's a absolutely asinine final thought. What happens to the keepers in the synthetic ending? Do they just keep on keeping or like what goes on there?
Just keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping.
But now they'd have even less purpose. So they're just like, I just got to keep doing this job. I don't want to keep doing. They're just grumpier. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I have right now.
Okay, cool. All right, Mitch, we're going to go backwards through everybody.
You can hit me up on the Discord, Psych88. I don't really have any final thoughts, truly. I mean, this was just a great conversation. So thank you all.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your perspective. Stagger and Stumble.
I want to preface this with I got the tattoo when I was like 20, like 6 years ago, and I'm aware that anarchism doesn't necessarily imply violence.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
But this has been cool. Like if anybody wants to hit me up, I'm on Discord. I don't really like do social media. So but this has been awesome, guys. Thanks. I've been wanting to do this for a while.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Who'll the Fool?
I guess I have to unmute myself before I start talking.
Yeah, sometimes I forget that too.
So I'm probably talking in the Discord like every day, either if it's in the Mass Effect one or the Game Pass one, so you guys can reach me there. Also, all my social medias are just Who'll the Fool. But I just want to end it with, I don't think any ending works because no matter what, you always have to bring back the Reaper threat because someone's going to make AIs that want to destroy stuff. So you always need the Reaper.
Can't avoid the Reaper. Can't avoid the Reaper.
It's like Thanos. He's always he's always there. Always gonna need him.
Freaking Thanos. Teacup.
Yeah, again on Discord, Teacup92. And my final thought is I don't think there is a right ending. I think that's the point. The point is that there is no correct ending.
Deep. Thanks for joining us. Sarah.
Well, it's been fun as usual. I'm Vervada on the Discord and Instagram, One Cat from Crazy. And my personal headcanon is that destroy is what I would choose. I have a high enough one that my shepherd survives and she gets reunited with her love interest, Garrus, and they retire to a tropical island somewhere. I also wanted to say that I think instead of Star Wars, this is more like Rogue One, where you're just trying to finish your mission and then die. So, that's the best comparison I can think of. It's very poignant. I think that's why we're still debating it all these years after it came out. Because, we all loved Mass Effect for how much it made us feel.
Yeah. And I know this is biologically impossible, but what would Shepherd Garrus babies look like?
I like to think they adopt all the Krogan babies that are coming out.
They got a bunch of little Krogan babies.
The
oh, that's amazing. I bet baby Krogans are super cute, right? Until they get like big and gangly, but like I bet little baby, I bet they look like little round things.
Yeah, they're little battle turtle babies, and I still think they're cute when they're big. Well, they're just little reptile things. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kather.
I'm Kather now, but soon I will be Turbo Toboggan.
Turbo Toboggan.
Just hit me on Discord. I'm on there sometimes.
Yeah.
And also hit up my twin.
Your twin Toasty, who was here. Bye, Toasty. Sorry you couldn't be here longer. All right, Lena.
Yeah, it was a really fun discussion. Maybe I was a little bit quiet, but it was really interesting to hear all of your opinions on that. And I'm looking forward to further discussions on the Discord. You can hit me up under Lena or Trentle tier. And yeah, hope to see you all in the next episode.
Yeah, thanks for joining us and sharing your opinions too. And again, genuinely from both me and Sam, thank you guys for your support. We really enjoy you being here and getting to chat with you at the end of the month. This is super fun for us. Sam, anything you want to share before we go?
Well, I am starting my new job tomorrow morning, so I'm not sure what my streaming schedule is going to be like, but I am going to try to be streaming at least 2 hours a week. And that is probably more likely than not going to be on Wednesday, because we do have the Xbox Game Pass show still every Monday. And my hours are basically for streaming. They're going to be about 7 p.m. West Coast time. So 7 p.m. Pacific to 9 p.m. Pacific, probably Wednesday through Thursday. So if you want to catch me streaming Mass Effect 3, I am not that far into the third game yet. And I am almost definitely going to be finishing Mass Effect 3 here within the next couple of weeks. I will be streaming that ending for anyone interested in watching.
Yeah, and he's gonna pick refuse, right? You're just gonna punch him in the face.
Yep, and then just insult all of the people who watched this entire playthrough.
Everyone's like, no.
Everyone's like, dude, really? Come on! Like, I spent a lot of hours watching you on this playthrough, and now you're just gonna do that? Cool beans.
But yeah, is there a way to anti-subscribe?
Did your Xbox fix itself, or it's still broken?
It's doing it very occasionally. It's very weird. Like, I will turn it on sometimes and there's just green bars across the screen, and I'm like, that's probably bad.
Just wrap it in a towel like it's the old 360 days.
Oh gosh.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Usually I disconnect it from that TV and I reconnect it to my monitor over here, and for some reason that does the trick. But if anyone wants to follow me on Twitter, I have been putting out some spicy Mass Effect memes. If you want to follow me on Twitch, everything is at N7 The Legend. So
yeah, and come join us tomorrow night for the Xbox Game Pass show. You don't have to have Xbox Game Pass to enjoy our thoughts on some of the games that we've been trying playing, because obviously those games are available anywhere. And if you want to join the Xbox Game Pass gang and have a group of friends to play stuff with, then you're welcome to do that as well. We have a little channel on the Robots Radio Discord where you can do that as well. And there you go. That's I think that's it for this week. Thank you everybody again for joining us. We'll be back next week with another regular lore episode. And until then, stay safe out there. We'll see you guys next time. See you later. Thanks for tuning into the Mass Effect Lorecast. We'd love to hear your opinion and thoughts on the lore of Mass Effect. Reach out to us on Twitter at Mass Effect Cast, or check out the Robots Radio Discord. Also, you can send us an email at masseffectlorecast@gmail.com.